The US economy is so big, so complicated. There are so many different things happening. How in the world can it be summed up in one number?
GDP.
The people in the news are constantly using this one number as if it's supposed to tell us how healthy the economy is, where it is going, and how we should feel about it. But what exactly is GDP? To understand what it is and what it can tell us, it helps to talk to an expert. Hey, so what is GDP?
GDP is gross domestic product. It's a crude measure to tell us how the economy is growing or shrinking. Every penny Americans spend on paying their accountant, getting their haircut, or on breakfast cereals, all of this gets rolled up into GDP.
So this cereal box, if I buy this, does this go into GDP?
Absolutely. This is part of your consumption.
Now when I look at this box, Kellogg has to pay the manufacturers for turning corn into cereal. When that manufacturer pays the farmer for the corn, is that also GDP? Because wouldn't that be double counting?
Yes, it would. So we take out what you pay to the farmer and what you pay to the person that made the box. We're just going to measure the final spending, which is your consumption.
So when I buy the cereal for $3.75, we're assuming that in that price, since everyone is trying to make a profit, we're counting the box, the ink, the corn, everything that went into making this product.
Yes, exactly right.
You could think of it this way. All of the money spent in the world on things we make in the US, like American cars, toothpaste, and Hollywood movies, or services you paid to get a lawyer or a lawn caring service. These are all added to GDP.
So everything in the store is GDP. These candy, these cards, and these
Tennis ball. Hold up. Tennis balls are made in China, so that's import. We have to take that out of your consumption when we're calculating the impact on GDP.
So imports. You actually subtract those from GDP. A lot of the prices of the tennis balls go to Chinese GDP. Some of it's ours, like the profit the store makes from selling them, for example. Among the biggest chunks of GDP is manufacturing. That's still about 12%. Health and finance together make up for another 16%. And one of the biggest drivers, real estate.
GDP is just new goods and services. So this is residential construction. When spaces like these are built and sold, that's going to contribute to GDP.
So now what about these apartments? They aren't new.
Right. These apartments are old and used. That means they would not count for GDP. GDP is all about new goods and services.
Wow, so if I paid $1 million, that would not count for GDP?
That's correct.
So if you add up all of the houses and buildings we bought, that's all that gets added to GDP. $1.9 trillion in 2010. That's about 13% of the total. Then when you throw in government spending, that's another 21%. Business investments like factories and equipment, that's another 10%. It brings us to a grand total of $14.5 trillion for 2010, the biggest GDP in the world. So why are Americans so miserable when we have the biggest GDP in the world? Well, you don't just need a big GDP, you need one that's growing.